Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this Wednesday morning. Man, it's confusing. Last night I'm asking like, hey, is Monday Night Football on? It's like, no, it's a Tuesday night. So Wednesday morning show, that means we start off with Dudley Dawson, hogville.net. Looking forward to having him on. And in the second segment, Matt Dean will join us, the coach from over in Memphis. We're going to be talking a lot of more basketball and everything else going on in the world. Still got plenty of college football because we got the championship left between Michigan and Washington Monday night down in Houston. Hour number 2, Ben Troupe will check in with us over in Savannah. And in the fourth segment, Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline. Always love to hear what he's got to say. The Rebels, I like that. They're smelling blood heading into next year. You can hear the constant drumbeat just south of Memphis and Oxford and wherever their Ole Miss fans gathered for a hottie because they like to do that. That's what they love to do. They love their Rebels, and just like the Hogs love their Hogs. Hey, we do this 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. Central. If you miss us live, you can always go back anywhere, wherever you get your podcast and hear the show. So live 8 to 10 a.m. Central, Monday through Saturday, or at night, or wherever you are. Dr. Waller Mays said he was driving last night, had a 2.5-hour drive, listened to the show. We will start putting this soon in the next week or two into some shorter podcast versions. You'll be able to hear the whole show and also a podcast version, which will be 45 minutes or less. Okay, a lot to talk about, and let's get started. Dudley Dawson. Dudley, appreciate you not opting out on the show today. You said you're not feeling too good. A lot of people have had I'll just call it the misery over Christmas, I guess, when a lot of people getting together, but hope you're going to be getting better soon. I love the Christmas stuff up here. Got a station here in Memphis, Sunny 103. It's kind of funny. The owner of the station, of all the stations, Flynn Broadcasting, George Flynn, I guess is the DJ, still playing Christmas music. I love some of these people. I kept my tree up one time till July 31st. So I probably have the record among the Sidelines audience for procrastinating and taking my time on getting the tree down. But Dudley, what's going on over there in hogville.net country?
Got some more portal guys coming in this weekend. They picked up wide receiver Jordan Anthony, who had played for Bobby Petrino at Texas A&M last year. So still trying to add to the mix. As I've said so many times, it's about talent acquisition at this point of the year. You've got some guys coming in this weekend. They still need another offensive lineman, probably the running back that they're hoping to get, and then some littered throughout the defense. So still a long way to go, even though it's a few days. But they ended up getting Bradley Shaw, the linebacker, from Hoover. That was a big pickup for him. So it was a nice Christmas for him, as he committed on what he called commitments. Which is a new word.
That's it. Hey, did he come up with that?
Yeah, I guess.
No, this is Bradley Shaw. Yeah, Bradley Shaw from Hoover.
Yeah, I've never committed on Christmas to anything but the food. So,
I mean, I like that, commitments. That's a cool new term, Bradley Shaw. But the Razorbacks, I talk to a lot of Arkansas fans every day, in Memphis and parking and all over, and they're frustrated. So, my dad's always taught me you can be frustrated and bitch and moan all you want. It's a waste of time. What's your solution? Okay, so areas of need primarily for the Hogs. The offensive line's got to get a lot better. Let's kind of go position by position and see how well they addressed. In your opinion, I know Otis Kirk is more than y'all's recruiting guru, but you know the minutia, you understand the working parts of it. Let's kind of start with the offensive line.
Well, they've added 3 guys, all who were starters last year for their spots, or even the year before. Jordan Blackstock from Michigan State had opted out, or whatever we say these days after 4 games. But they feel really good about those. They got another offensive lineman in here this weekend. They want to continue to add to that. So offensive line, I think they've got some solid people that's coming in. Obviously, it was a place that they, felt they needed to go out and get some. And they also feel like Eric Mateos, the new offensive line coach, is going to be able to develop some of these. One of the other guys that's coming in is actually one of his former players at Baylor. So there's where they're at with the offensive line. Obviously, with the quarterback, KJ Jefferson finally made the announcement that he's going to be with Gus Malzahn at the University of Central Florida. They brought in Taylon Green from Boise State, have Jacoby Criswell, Malachi Singleton, and KJ Jackson. So there's where they started with those first two positions.
So you're saying KJ Jefferson to Central Florida?
Yes.
That will be fun to watch because I've never seen Gus develop a quarterback, but I've seen him taking one that's all ready to go and take him to a pretty high level. It's just, I'm never going to be okay with saying for a guy to just leave. It's just this portal thing is strange. But offensively, what is Arkansas? This past year, it was terrible. We talked about that. It's been chronicled. Bobby Petrino coming in. Find me a place where he's been. Now, give me your thoughts. At Texas A&M, did Jimbo Fisher let him call the plays? From what you could tell, did it look like a Bobby Petrino offense at A&M this past year?
No, it did not. And, it wasn't there, but Coach Petrino's made some references to terminology and not being able to maybe do everything that he wanted to. I go on the history that I've had with him here, what he's done with the offenses here. They've never been poor when he was here. Now, I was thinking the other day, it's been 12 years and all that, but what he's always had the philosophy of feed the studs, make sure you get enough of them. That's what he's trying to do. As I said, he's acquired some wide receivers, some tight ends. He knows what he's doing when it comes to offense. I'm not really worried about, the X's and O's with him. It's just getting enough people in here, and he feels like he's done that. And also, the defensive side of the ball, we know that made a big jump this past season.
Okay.
All those guys, all those coaches are coming back. So they've got the opportunity to add in some guys, and they've certainly done that with, a lot of defensive backs, linebackers, just the what they needed to do. Now, am I saying all these guys are great? No. Am I saying they're all going to come in and make it a totally, shutout type defense? No. But when you went into the portal, you had a defined responsibilities of what you wanted to get. They've got the players. Now we see if those players fit the system, and if these guys, some of who have had checkered careers, I guess I would say, will pan out better with a second chance, or will develop. I mean, there's a couple of 5-stars here now. They don't have 5-stars here. That they just hadn't been able to recruit 5-stars, but there's a couple of guys here that have been previous 5-stars. Will they reach that potential now that they're with different coaches and have a different voice? We all know that hearing a different voice every once in a while is better than hearing the same old one over and over.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, Michigan on their entire roster, 2 5-stars. Alabama, 18 that played on the team. And look over at Georgia, outgoing in the portal, 16 players, 5 of them 5-stars, 8 4-stars, 3 3-stars. Look at the state of Alabama this year in high school recruiting. 5 5-stars in a state of 5.1 million people. 5 5-star players. 18 4-stars and 113 3-stars. So that's a lot of talent. You look at
coaching matters, developing matters, having everybody pulling in the same direction. That's the one thing, for all this sign stealing and different things that make you want to root against, or make a lot of people in America want to root against the Wolverines. You've got to be impressed by how they play for each other, how they play, pulling the same way. And it's hard not to appreciate that, even with all that other stuff.
Dudley, that's something I was going to bring up with you, because I have not seen a team that looks like they play together and care about each other and just love their coach, love each other, as this Michigan team. And I'm an SEC guy saying this, but I call it like I see it. And you've got to be agnostic when you have the microphone or the pen or the typewriter, the pad, the computer, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? But I learn a lot from you, because you've been doing this for a long time. And we're the same age, but you're a great writer. But you are not a Kool-Aid drinker. And I've talked to coaches, and they'll tell you off the air, different schools around the country that I've known over the years, and you know a lot more than I do. But they'll say, you do anything you can to gain a competitive advantage. This looks to me like Ryan Day, the coach at Ohio State, the one team that he's lost to 3 years in a row. He's not lost a single other Big Ten game in his 5 years as the head coach. In 2018, he coached the first 3 games when Urban Meyer was put in timeout for off-the-field issues. I'm just looking at this and saying, the Franz Beard, GatorbaitMedia.com, who's a great writer. He's how I found you. He was a big fan of yours. He put out in his daily thoughts yesterday just some great material, just about how Jim Harbaugh is the whipping boy for the NCAA. And he talked about, what Roy Williams, the stuff at Kansas, at North Carolina, Bill Self at Kansas, Sean Miller at Arizona, all these coaches. Nothing happened to them. And they are going after Harbaugh. But I look at this guy, and he's won at San Diego. He won at Stanford before the idiots that are in charge. They've ruined. Dave Tompkins, member of our Saturday Roundtable, Savant Saturday, spent 17 years out in Palo Alto when he got his MBA at Stanford. He said, it's horrible what's happened to the athletic program. Jim Harbaugh is at Michigan. He brought the camps down to the South. He makes people uncomfortable. But to me, Mike Tyson would make me uncomfortable if I got in the ring to fight him. Okay? That's where this is. I just think he tucks in his sweatshirts. He wears those birth control glasses, and he wears white socks with his shoes. I think he's awesome. Look at his record. And everybody wants him to go to the NFL. You know what? Don't you want to play the best?
Yeah, and I tell you what, I've never questioned his coaching ability. There've been some things, that make you wonder. The whole Connor Stalions thing. Connor Stalions, had a picture of him at the game on Monday night, and I wouldn't expect it any different. If the man goes to road games, he definitely would come to the Michigan game that Michigan's in. So
yeah,
but I do think that the thing that it reminds me most of is when Coach Richardson was here, and his players feared him, they respected him, they loved him, and if you said something to him, they'd go to war for him. And that appears to be the same thing they've got going here. And I'm not so sure that has been the case at every successful place, but it gives you that edge when you need it, and they needed it on that last drive. And I don't root for teams, but I rooted for number one, who had a block in the back there. And me and my wife, Patricia, said, and when he blocked in the back, I thought that guy is going to be vilified in the state of Michigan for the rest of his life. Then he comes, makes a great catch, to get him the first down. Then he makes, gets into the end zone and scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for that kid because, you never root for anybody to have a hard life. And that young man would have had a hard life if he'd have been what they would have, pointed to as the cause. But I'm just, I'm very impressed with all 4 of those teams. I'll sit here and I can pontificate that maybe Georgia was still the best team in the nation. They certainly, have proved it over the course of the last few years. But Alabama beat them in the SEC championship game. That's how you get to advance. The Florida State thing, I think, was, ended up being right. A great football team during the year. Jordan Travis, Now they're getting DJ down there as the quarterback. Not even going to attempt to say their last name. But I feel like that, whoever, I don't want to hear from the 13th team next year, in the playoff. 12's enough. But I don't want to hear from the 13th. But I think it played out the way it was supposed to, with the exception, I still think Georgia was one of the best 4 teams. I just don't see how you could, after Alabama beat Georgia, Texas beat Alabama, how you could put anybody else in there.
Yeah. I mean, my 4 that I picked were Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Michigan. Washington looks pretty damn good. They've got 13 fifth-year seniors, 13 sixth-year seniors. One of those sixth-year seniors is a kid out of Tampa who we were talking yesterday, I believe, originally committed to Tennessee when Butch Jones was fired, and then they brought in Jeremy Pruitt. He ended up going to Indiana. And Kalen DeBoer leaves Indiana, ends up going to Washington. And now Penix is at Washington, obviously. He had a great game against Texas. Can you remember in the 10-year history of the college football playoff 2 better semifinal games than what we were treated to Monday night?
No, they were fantastic. And I think I watched every play, for 6 hours, however long it was, and the interviews.
7, 8, whatever.
Yeah, it was just riveting. And every time you thought maybe one team was about to be out, I mean, it started off with an interception. It wasn't an interception. And I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah. Here we go. And it ended up with Texas with a chance to pull it out. It was much better than 63-3 games and all that. That it just really was a fascinating day, and I'm glad that I took the day off and just sat there and watched football the entire day from 10 a.m. or something like that.
10 a.m.
And they started, and there were a few games there that were okay to watch. But it just. Didn't have any law and order on Monday. It was football from start to finish.
Well, ask yourself, this is a question I'm going to ask you. Sometimes writers, reporters choose not to travel to a game. They'll watch it on TV in their man cave with maybe multiple games on TV. And you've got the multi-screen that you can watch 4 games at once, which I think is pretty cool.
I had 3 games working. Yes.
Okay.
Three at one time.
Remember, Elvis the King used to have ABC, NBC, and CBS. He watched the nightly news every night. And that back when can you imagine Elvis today? He probably if he did, he'd have literally thousands of TVs because there's thousands of channels. When you're watching a game versus being there in person, what's different about how you write that story, or is there anything different at all? Still the same game?
Well, I would say that I have more of a better aspect of watching it at home because I get to see all the replays. I get to hear the commentary from different things. It's I would love to do, and I try to do both of them. Sometimes put radio in my ear. Sometimes I put the TV sound in my ears to try to help out. But I do think from just simply watching a game, X's and O's and all that, I think it's better to do on TV. But being at the games where you get a feel for things, you get, I think, better take on the decisions. And also before COVID and Zooms, you couldn't really do interviews. So I always take going to the games, but I do think there is certainly beneficial things to being at home and watching it and being able to, get it from that aspect. I kind of like to do a lot of both of those. And I do feel like I am still at 60 watching tape of, I watched Auburn last night in basketball. I will review the tape today of their game with Penn because they played here Saturday in Arkansas. So I'll have a better idea of, what they're going into when Arkansas plays them on Saturday. You can't just read. You can't just glance at it. You got to study it if you want to be, more accurate on what you're reporting. Yeah,
you really do. And I love going to the games. It doesn't matter where you go. College is so personal, but also though pro football, when it's played on Saturday, is different than when it's played on Sunday. Mm-hmm. It's also different when college football is over and it's nothing but pro football. This time of year, is the best time of year for NFL football. Also, the playoffs, and there's nothing like the Super Bowl. That whole and the Dallas Cowboys. How
By the
cool
way,
was
I'm
that?
sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't report before we started the
Yeah.
show. I meant to report as an eligible receiver. So,
Wait, eligible receivers?
yeah, I meant to report as an eligible receiver. Well, it was interesting. Dan Skipper, who used to be at Arkansas, was part of that whole thing with the Lions.
Yeah.
I mean, the referee just screwed that up. But hey, we've gotten bad calls before. So
I love that shirt you got on.
I've got all three represented. See, Celtics, Cardinals, and Cowboys.
By the way, Thursday over in Grubbs again. Was there Thursday afternoon at about 12 for meeting with Chris Aiken. I just had him up here a second ago. That's one of our great sponsors from Jonesboro that has web-footed kennels, and we ended up going. I've eaten at Blue Jays now twice the last couple of weeks. Folks, that is, I love that place. That is, and they've got a great gun shop in there. It is first class FFL. But the food and the people that run that place are awesome. And they know you. They know who you are. And the guy said, I recognize your voice from the show. And I was like, cool. And so Blue Jays, you're ever in Grubbs, Arkansas, go to Blue Jays, breakfast, lunch, dinner, great people. I love those people. They're so damn nice. And some of the guys from the club went in there last Thursday, and it was so crowded. The line was out into the parking lot. And the lady said,
yeah,
you've been there. She was apologizing. I said, hey, that's never something to apologize for. You got a great product, great food. People want to be here. So we ended up picking up a Hunt Brothers pizza from them that they made for us and just crushed it. Jim Cherry and I on the way back. But man,
I'm a much better person overall because I grew up in Balch, Arkansas. I grew up on a farm. Went to eat in Grubbs and Amigan.
Yeah,
Fisher, Wiener, Wallenberg, all those places.
Oh yeah,
where you have salt of the earth people. I like big cities and all that, but I like life. I've always never moved too fast unless it was on a football field and somebody had a football. But I always liked the life that I led growing up back then. And one of the best was to go to the Blue Jays or go to the Amigan Diner at noon, when you got a break in the field. Number one, because you got good food and you didn't eat potted meat and spam that day that you brought in your lunch pail and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, but I love those people over there.
And I've for New Year's, for the month of January, I'm trying to give up processed food. I don't eat that much of it anyway. And Audrey says, what about your Fritos Big Scoop corn chips with your Poncho's dip? And I said, well, my one vice. Remember Andy Griffith had one vice. He would smoke a cigarette every now and then. Mm-hmm. Got to have my Fritos Big Scoops and my Mexican Coke. But that's cane sugar. I'm not sure if that's really processed. But anyway, they are salt of the earth people over there at Blue Jays. And, God, the food, man, you come in, Chris Aiken and the guys in his club over there, they all go there for breakfast. They go there for dinner. They have great steaks. They have a great steak and potato with everything that comes with it. Special Friday nights at Blue Jays, but love that place. And they are the greatest people. You just cannot get better. And we got some guys over there hunting this morning in Grubbs right now, sent me a picture of thousands of ducks in the sky. So get your limits and go to Blue Jays. Dudley, let's talk about basketball. Eric Musselman, because of his success that he's had in his first few years at Arkansas, everybody expects, okay, they can start slow and it makes people mad. But Arkansas basketball, Kentucky basketball, Florida basketball, I mean, these are great, great programs. Auburn's pushing it now. Alabama, Georgia's trying to do better. Tennessee with Rick Barnes. There's good teams everywhere. But Musselman, he gets every ounce of talent, it looks like, out of his players. What's different about this team compared to his previous ones, and what's better about him if you look, say, into March?
Well, the most immediate thing with this basketball team is they're better than they were 2 weeks ago because of the NCAA ruling that allowed some people to get eligible, and one of those was Kenyon Middleton, who was the young man who transferred in from Washington, had to sit out a little while. He's eligible for the second semester. Had a career high 32 in his third game, the other day, and just was a phenomenal force with them, but there were a lot of guys on that team that were looking for their shots. As I've said before, not a lot who were looking to get get the other guy a better shot. He certainly did that the other day. I think he only had 5 assists, but the ball movement was much better. And when you score 32 points, you're impacting the game. He did that both offensively, defensively. That's one of the reasons I think they're going to be better. This is a big game for them Saturday. Auburn coming in. Auburn played well for the most part against Penn last night. Let Penn get back in it a little bit. But, Auburn can come in here and steal a win at Bud Walton, which not a lot of teams do, or Arkansas can get a win, against a team that, I think most people consider the second or third best team. When I'm talking about Auburn, second or third best team right now after the non-conference, although you have to give Ole Miss a lot of credit as well. So this is a big game Saturday. There's a lot of big games Saturday. Once you get to conference play, there's no games that you can just take off or they'll come back to haunt you at the end. And really, in all these projections right now for the NCAA tournament, Arkansas is not one of the 9 SEC teams being put in there. So they better get to work, get some stuff done. They've got a win over Duke that, will play well for them. The Purdue was a scrimmage, but it'll still, factor into people's minds. But you got to start off well in conference. That's not something that they've done a lot, but they've got the opportunity to do that on Saturday. And I'm sure that for the most part, the place is going to be packed, although the students won't be back yet.
Well, and the thing about it is they do it with the electronic tickets now. It's easier now to fill a place up. In the past, you had paper tickets. Students aren't there. You might have a hole over there, and you hated that.
Yeah.
Now, when the students aren't there, they're still. But Arkansas, it's a lot bigger. There used to be 13,000 students. Now it's north of 25, isn't it?
Yeah, it's over 30. In fact, they've had so many students. They're having to put them up in apartments that have nothing really to do with the university. So, they're over 30,000. I think 29,000 are all from Texas. It seems like as they have, they don't have to pay out-of-state tuition. So a lot of people come from Dallas. But, over 30,000. It helps them that it'll be a 1 o'clock game on Saturday afternoon. No school. Obviously you can get your family up here and they go back if you're coming from another part of the state. So I'm sure it's going to be a really good crowd. Don't know it's going to be the kind of crowd that they had when they took down Auburn when it was number 1 and they stormed the court and had to pay $250,000 or whatever it is. I don't think there'll be any storming of the court either way on Saturday. But again, I think it's just, it's just like anything else. If you start the conference off on a good note, it's likely to give you some momentum down the line. And one win, whether it be at the start of the conference play or at the end of conference play, it counts the same.
No, I agree with you. I mean, momentum, nothing succeeds like success. And you look at teams that aren't expected to have a great year. Okay, let's look at Chris Beard and Ole Miss. You know a lot about him. He was at Little Rock. Wesley Flanagan is back with him. Of course, he was with him in Little Rock. Then he went back to his alma mater, Auburn, with his son, Allen. Now, both of them are with Chris Beard. Chris Beard is like a Musselman. He's like a Bruce Pearl. They're jacked up. They don't need Red Bull. It's already in their veins. People always ask me if I drank Red Bull. I'm like, no. I mean, I wake up in the morning and say, 5 Alive, it's going to be a great day, and I'm fired up. People are like, how can you wake up so happy? I don't know. But I'm not saying I'm Eric Musselman or those guys, but man, the SEC's got some good coaches. And Musselman, we've got a lot of people I know, and that go to Arkansas and friends of mine's kids and all. Musselman, he'll be out on campus, talking to the students and encouraging them to get there and get there early and all. And that's what you want to have. That 19,000 seat Bud Walton Arena, it's Heartbreak Hotel for most every team. I think Auburn's won up there since 1992, 3 or 4 times. I don't care how good you are. And if you get a win, it's usually epic that you had to do it in overtime or whatever. That is a house of horrors. It's a beautiful place, but it's a horrible place for an opponent to play.
And you have 2 coaches that will be working this game on Saturday who are as entertaining as the players. in their sideline antics in before and after the game. Both of them were made for social media platforms. That's part of why they recruited so well. Those are the games you look to. I had never, I've always said I'm a much better writer when I've got great quotes from coaches, and I never worry about with them and Calipari and some others, never worry about not having good quotes. So my story, I think, will be good on Saturday because I'll be writing, with things from Bruce Pearl and Eric Musselman who do not say boring stuff.
No,
in private or in public.
Yeah, they do not. It'll be a great atmosphere. Dudley, I'm not going to say you're opting out because that means you quit. You're tough as nails.
Hey, how about the dude from LSU opting out at halftime the other day after he got his catch and broke the record, and then he opted out after halftime?
Wait a minute, that's a new all-time low.
Yes, that's Malik Neighbors now. Yeah, it's a fabulous player,
and he opted out. He
That's
quit on his team. He quit at halftime. I mean, Dudley,
prearranged, I guess, but it's just one of those things, man. We talked about it, and I understand if my kid was about to be, an NFL draft pick, I would let him make his decision, but I'd be standing back there going,
Well, all I can say is Coach Matt Dean is on with us right now, and Matt from the Quad Cities, Moline, Bettendorf, Rock Island, and Davenport, Iowa, and coached men's basketball as an assistant for 16 years with Herb Hildegren at Rhodes, and then 16 years as the women's head coach at Rhodes, and has a son on the staff with Dan Lanning at Oregon. Matt's old school like we are. All I can say is this. I cannot imagine. Wait until some first or second year medical school resident says, I'm opting out of the 36-hour rotations. Do you want that person operating on you? Some coward, some person like that? I'm not going to say the word. But no way. Never. Malik Neighbors, I had people yesterday texting me during the show saying the people that quit on the teams and don't play in these bowl games should be blackballed from the Letterman's Club and all privileges that come with it. Because, can you imagine in the military, you opt out on you've got 30 days left. It's called, you're short. You're about to get out. You just can't do it. As long as adults allow these kids to get away with this, it's going to keep happening. And it's inexcusable. I love the players. I'll tell you, I watched Memphis in the Liberty Bowl the other day. Seth Hennigan, I came to college to play football and get an education, not for NIL. I'll tell y'all right now, I listen to a lot of post-game radio networks from different schools, and the former players who were color analysts or sideline reporters, whatever, have had enough of these horrible half-assed performances in bowl games, guys quitting on their teams, and there's going to start being so much pressure put on them. There you go. There's the free market. Dudley, if you feel better, stay with us because we're going to have a lot of fun. But before we take a break, let people know how they can follow you. One of America's best sports writers with another 35, 40 years left in the tank. I feel it. I see it. We got to have you, man. But let them know how they can follow you.
I'm just glad I was able to give you 35 or 40 minutes this morning. I'm about to restart the day. But hogville.net is our message board and website, and we're just writing about every story you can have right now. I wrote a lot of things in December about the sports are not even playing right now, just kind of wrap ups, look forward to the year and all that. And then Fearless Friday, I'm transitioning from writing football to basketball now, and my thoughts on high school. I love it. That's I know NIL is about to get down in there somehow, but I'll get over it. But yeah, hey, thanks for having me this morning. I'll be back. I may not be drinking the Kool-Aid, but I'm gonna be drinking some Benadryl. So,
all right. Well, you and I are going to meet sometime here soon when you're back home. Tell me, we'll meet for breakfast or lunch or dinner over at Blue Jays. We'll have fun. They love you over there.
Get my plate lunch. People, kids these days don't know what a plate lunch is. A plate lunch was the greatest thing ever because it was the precursor of the Golden Corral. You got a little bit of everything.
You're correct, sir. All right, Dudley,
All
get
right.
better. Again, thank you so much. We'll take a quick break. Be right back with Coach Matt Dean after this.
Good to see you, man.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal and the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Welcome to Rumble, bringing half boxing, half strength, and 10 rounds of fire. Pull up, say what's up to our studio team, check in and grab your gear. Don't have gloves, don't have wraps, don't worry, we got you.
You think you better than battle?
Find your starting spot. B means bag, F means floor. Make your way to the studio, find where all the magic happens, you jab a little love on the way in, or snap a pic for the gram. Tap in with your trainer and get ready to bring the thunder. Eyes up at your right.
All right, man, I tell you, 1835 Union Avenue, Midtown Memphis, at the corner of Union and McLean. Rumble Boxing open Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday mornings open at 9 a.m. Awesome classes, dips, star jacks, burpees, planks, push-ups, dumbbell work. Then, bam, get over there and hit those 250-pound bags. 48 people in the classes. They've got elite level instructors. They're going to work your ass off. You know what? The great thing to do is to take your business, your company there. A lot of corporate people are starting to go there. And you'll be surprised. These NBA teams are in town. Ann Camp Lee, my friend, is the owner of the first of 3 of these she's going to put in the Memphis market. Said she'll see players from the Los Angeles Lakers, Utah Jazz. You see players from Oklahoma City Thunder in there working out when they're in town. The Rumble started out in Los Angeles, and it's spreading nationwide. But boxing, you engage both sides of your brain, feet, God, incredible footwork, hand-eye coordination, rumbleboxinggym.com. Check them out on our website. And also the Vitamin Shop, located 5338 Goodman Road in South Haven. Well, actually, that's in Olive Branch, 5338 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, Mississippi. That location opened just recently, and they're open Monday through Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 8 p.m., and on Sundays, 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. They've got health and nutritionists, people that know what they're talking about, probiotics, all kinds of vitamins and supplements, goo, shot blocks. You work out, you take care of yourself, which everybody should. You need to be going to the Vitamin Shop. And they're also opening up another location in Oxford in early March. Justin Ross, my friend, is a partner in these first of the 2 locations he's going to have. That is the Vitamin Shop. Check them out, 5338 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Coach Matt Dean, curvature of the spine, scoliosis, a little soreness from watching so much football. It's just day after day after day. You got to stretch out. You got to move around, drink plenty of water. I can't remember, as I told Dudley, when we've had 2 semifinal games as exciting as what we saw. And I don't know why I'm not a Michigan fan but I'm a Jim Harbaugh fan because the guy gets the best out of every team he's around. And if he's such a bad guy, why do his players love him like they do? And I've never seen a more emotional, impassioned group of football players in memory on the field. I mean, it's almost like Bo Schembechler's back out there with those guys. Gee, Harbaugh played for Schembechler.
He did. And you know, Rob, good morning. He obviously, when you get your guys to play as hard as they do, there's a good culture, there's a good feel in that locker room, right? There's a good day-to-day, especially to go through what they went through this year. You know, I heard him say post-game, and it's kind of getting old, and I get it. But he's like, you know, basically referring to a statement that, you know, it's an unfair advantage to all the adversity our guys have gone through this year, that nothing phases us now and we don't care what anybody thinks. Well, ultimately, you try to build that mentality regardless. You know, I mean, that's the culture, like, you know, it's us against everybody, you know, respect everybody, fear nobody, you know, that type of mentality. I will say this, Rob, briefly about both games, because, you know, you asked myself and John Hartwell last Thursday what we thought, and I think I was 1 for 2. I think and I'm gonna tie this together because I have a pretty good analogy. I thought Saban having a month would give Alabama an edge. I thought Alabama would win a close game, and they were leading by a touchdown with 3 minutes to play, so I was not far off that one. I did feel like Washington was going to win the second game, though they almost gave it away in the last 2.5 minutes. I'd like to talk about that shortly. But one of the things that you told me about Texas, and it really resonated watching the game, is I think they had a connection with a former Auburn defensive line coach that you were really thought highly of.
Alabama coach, Bo Davis, former defensive line coach at Alabama.
I'm sorry. And I didn't realize this. In the first Bama-Texas game, I think Texas sacked Milroe maybe 5 times, if I'm not mistaken. It was terror, right? I mean, there was a lot of pressure. Do you realize in the Washington game, Texas had no sacks, and Penix threw for 430 yards? I mean, so everyone I've heard of, these national pundits come out the day after the game, and they're already kind of crowning Michigan. I'm like, whoa, Nelly, let's slow down a little bit here. I don't know what your people are saying, Rob, but I thought Alabama, except for the 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, dominated the second half. They were down 13-10.5, didn't play very well, got some benefits of mistakes, take that lead to 20-13. Rob, if they could snap the ball a little bit better, they'd have won that football game. But we were ready to crown Michigan and get it. Hey, let me tell you something, Rob. It's 4th and 2, gutsy call. Harbaugh's got all 3 of his timeouts, right? I think they're at the 33, their own 33. If you don't get it there with under 4 to go, the game is over. Bama will win. How does, and they've run this play, you can watch as much Big Ten football as I do, Rob.
Yeah.
They ran Corum. They snuck him out of the backfield in the flat. They got him in the big little pass there, maybe off a play pass. How is a linebacker not looking there for that play? Alabama is still young in a lot of spots. They overachieved, but if Alabama makes one play there, then later in that drive, they tip a pass at the line of scrimmage. The ball floats, and then Roman Wilson kid makes an unbelievable catch for Michigan that looks like it's going to the Bama defensive player for an interception. So Michigan won the game. Rob, I'm still not sure they're the better team. I mean, they were the better team for the last 5 minutes of the game and overtime. But Jesse Minter, their defensive coordinator, dialed up some pressures that forced, 5 sacks in the first half, maybe 6 or 7 for the game. But I remember that one drive Alabama had. They had 2 straight bad snaps. You go from 1st and 10 to 3rd and 29, Rob. I mean, have you ever seen a Bama team implode like that? I have not. I don't think that's necessarily coaching. I think some of it is not completely across the board ready to be in that moment. And what I mean by that is if they were a more veteran team, I think they win that game.
Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider, was on the show with us yesterday, and he alluded to that about the center snap exchange between him, the center and the quarterback being a problem. And it was. And he goes, I don't know how to explain it. They've got talent on that offensive line, but also on that last play. Did you see the Michigan guy fire through the gap and just flatten J.C. Latham, who's about 6'6", 340?
It was
They've
amazing.
got some giants on the offensive line for Alabama. But Nick Saban was asked about what happened there at the end. Michigan called the timeout. Alabama had a play. They changed it. Then Alabama called a timeout because they were concerned about the defensive alignment of Michigan. Then they did a third play. And it was like Milroe wasn't expecting the snap. And then when he got it, he had to lean down, and they immediately knew he was going to try to go up the middle. And I'm not sure how bad the injury was to Burton there, if he was in on that last play.
I don't think he was, Rob. Yeah.
Yeah, but Michigan, Blake Corum is tough as nails.
He is. Hey, Michigan's really good. I don't want to come across here like not think that Michigan is really, really good. And I think Michigan could fully win next Monday night in Houston. But I just think if you go a deeper dive, Washington's offensive line won the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in the country. They got 3 NFL wide receivers out there, and Penix is spinning the ball. I think this is a highly competitive game that can go either way. And I talked to my son, who's the director of scouting at Oregon. They played Washington twice.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, people don't realize number 55, I can't pronounce his name, for Washington. He will play in the league a long time.
Yeah.
If you blitz Penix, he makes you pay because they're going to have better protection. They're more experienced up front than Alabama is. I think the thing that hurts Washington late in the game, Dylan Johnson, their starting running back, who's had an incredible last 6 games. I think he averaged close to, 125 to 150 yards. He got hurt, his foot. Is he going to be able to play? And what level will he be able to play if he plays? Because you're right, Rob. I think Blake Corum is as tough as running back as there is in the country in college football. And that offensive line, they're going to try to keep Washington's offense off the field. And I think Harbaugh is so crafty. You're 100% correct. He is such a football savant. They will try to limit the possessions of the game. Okay? If Washington gets up, they could be a problem because they're really good at sustaining drives, because I've never seen a group of wide receivers that just catches everything. Rob, they catch everything their way. They have tremendous hands. They're really good. I don't know how many times you've watched them this year. I've seen them multiple times.
They're good. Really good.
They're really good. I think it's going to be an exciting game. The odds makers have Michigan a 4.5-point favorite. I think it's more of a pick 'em personally.
Yeah, Michigan has 2 5-stars on that roster. It was pointed out yesterday. And Alabama 18.
Yeah.
It's about player development.
It
Jim
is.
Harbaugh is the most hands-on coach that I'm seeing out there. He's involved in everything. He's a very smart guy. Look, people are going to rip into this guy. I'm convinced Ryan Day and Ohio State are behind this. Franz Beard wrote in his daily thoughts yesterday, and I'm going to read part of what he said, GatorbaitMedia.com, because Franz he's just one of the best writers in America. And Brendan Martin, who's going to be working with us here on the show more and more, looking really excited about him. Franz yesterday pointed out Michigan's 27-20 college football playoff semifinal win over Alabama had the effect of Jim Harbaugh standing at midfield of the Rose Bowl, hand raised high above his head, middle finger extended in the direction of Charlie Baker and all the brain-impaired bureaucrats who run the National Collegiate Athletic Association. Despite the NCAA's attempts to force Michigan to fire its head coach, Jim Harbaugh not only has survived, but he has thrived. Suspended twice, each time for 3 games, Michigan hasn't lost a step. The Wolverines are 14-0 and have a very good chance to win the school's first national championship since 1997, when Michigan and Nebraska split the title. The NCAA wants to burn Harbaugh at the stake. They say he lied to investigators and wouldn't cooperate regarding a recruiting incident. Harbaugh says he simply didn't recall the details. Then there is sign stealing that apparently has gone on for years. Harbaugh says he was unaware that one of his staffers had a rather sophisticated system in place. If Jim Harbaugh lied to NCAA investigators, it's not like he's the first one who ever did.
No.
Do you think for even a nanosecond that Bobby Bowden wasn't aware that his football players were getting grades handed to them for a music appreciation class? FSU skated. Do you think Roy Williams didn't know how basketball players were staying eligible bogus classes at North Carolina? FSU and North Carolina walked. The NCAA had Sean Miller, Bill Self, and other basketball coaches dead to rights, but all of them are still coaching. Yet the NCAA is convinced it should make an example out of Jim Harbaugh. It's called selective enforcement. It's also called hypocrisy at the highest level. For reasons unknown, the NCAA refuses to acknowledge that the road to the Hall of Fame is paved by coaches who understand that great football teams are made up of a few Boy Scouts and a majority of borderline psychopaths. In a week, Michigan will play Washington for the national championship in Houston. If the Fighting Harbaughs win, they're already established as 4.5-point favorites. The only question remaining will be whether Harbaugh stays at Michigan in an act of defiance or bolts for the NFL. In either case, a Michigan win will send a message to the NCAA, much like a T-shirt I saw on spring break decades ago that read, wow, I'm not even going to read it, but great stuff by Franz.
Oh, terrific.
Selective enforcement. That's, I believe Ryan Day and Ohio State are behind this, because the only team Ryan Day hasn't beaten in 5 years as the head coach at Ohio State is Michigan, who's now beaten Ohio State 3 years in a row. This is really a perfect example of selective enforcement.
So when you say, Rob, Ryan Day's behind this, you feel like maybe Ohio State is pushing the narrative to go after Harbaugh, basically. Is that,
yeah, to get him out of the way, because they want to remain the king of college football. And if Iowa had an offense to go with that defense,
I know, brother.
I mean, their fans, they have everything you could dream. I mean, look at the crowds. Their fans are incredible. I've watched Iowa since Hayden Fry was there in '79. It's just, well, okay, they're going to bring in a new offensive coordinator, but the Big Ten plays pretty damn good football. I mean, Maryland had no trouble putting a WWE smackdown on the hapless effort that Auburn put forth. And I'm telling you, fans across the country are growing tired of these pitiful performances. Look, then don't charge for the tickets. Give us free hotel rooms. Don't charge us for gas and travel and off days from work. I cannot believe. Think about if you're a parent. I'm on a roll. But what if you were a parent? What if you were a parent? You had a kid that played travel league baseball or travel league soccer or travel league volleyball or whatever. And before they left on the trip, the coach addressed the team and the parents and said, look, we don't give a damn if we win or not. We're going to go. I don't really want to go. I don't care. But y'all are all going to spend about $3,500 this weekend on travel, airfare, whatever. Who the hell would go? Be honest. That's why I'm telling you right now, the fans have had enough, and the backlash is going to be fierce. It's coming. Former players, everybody is going, you're embarrassed. You are soiling our brands.
Rob, you're right. But every time we make that statement, we go out and we watch a Michigan-Alabama game. We watch, and I get it. There's different levels. When you're playing for a national championship, you're not going to have opt-outs. You're going to get an unbelievable effort level, right? I think the thing that's hard, you're an Auburn fan. I'm an Iowa fan. So right now we both got flaws. So I think going for you, history, you guys have won a national championship. We have not. But you have you've had some historically phenomenal years as an Auburn Tiger program, as an Auburn Tiger fan. So it probably is hard when you get to a bowl game and you're playing a 7-5, I think, Maryland team, and you're like, the Big Ten, I mean, except for 2 or 3 schools, whatever. But somehow in that locker room, they had a coaching staff that convinced them that this was their Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And, when you grow up as an Auburn Tiger and, you have Alabama beat, you lose the Iron Bowl, quite frankly, that was their Super Bowl. And this game, I mean, right now your program is so strong in the recruiting situation that's where all your momentum is, and it's going to show on the field in the next 2 years. You know that.
Yeah, you're right.
But for that game, it still matters. There are some seniors on that roster. There are some kids that need to put videotape on that roster for the next level. It's like an age-old question. I heard Freeze say something in the post game. He kind of apologized for the offensive plan because he really hadn't been working on it. And that's the part I appreciate his transparency. I understand that, but I don't know if I'd have said that. You know what I'm saying? I would have probably said, hey, it's on me today. We got our butt kicked. I love these young men, and we're going to be better next September or August, whatever. Yeah. I think that's what I would have said. Because when you make that type of statement, it goes to what your point is, like you guys don't even care about this. Yeah. And the reality is, in Hugh Freeze's defense, because I see it with my own son, all the way up to December 21st, their focus is on signing date. Yes. The early signing date. I talked to Tyler before he got into playing yesterday from Phoenix after the Fiesta Bowl, right? I said, what's your week look like? He goes, Dad, we got guys moving in, and we got more official transfer portal visits. This is the first. I mean, they just completed the season 12-2, 12 wins. And the whole staff is now dedicated, as soon as they get back to Eugene, Oregon, and it's no different in other places, towards starting this process all over again. He goes, I'll get time off in February. And they know their calendar, but they're exhausted. They're tired. And I'm not labeling it as an excuse, Rob. I know what you do in your industry is 24/7. You got customers calling you like, hey, the market's a little volatile. What should I do? Right? Yeah. So we get it. But I will tell you, what we've created is basically, Lane Kiffin said it best. We've created free agency in the middle of our playoffs, and no one in the world would think that's a good idea. That's a dumb idea. Lane Kiffin and Chip Kelly can figure this shit out for us if we really let them. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of coaches are kind of getting to the point, Rob, early on we had some coaches get out of this thing because they were tired. They saw what was coming. Yeah. Now we got some people starting to think, okay, do we incentivize bowl games? If I gave you a bowl bonus, Rob, would you stay and play for me one more time? I'm begging you, right? You're my starting inside guard, but you're projected a second-round pick. Will you stay and play, right? There's got to be some creativity. I don't know the terms of all these big NLI deals that are going out there. I wish there was an incentive for them to stay for bowl games. I don't know how you do that legally and what we got going on, because I'm not sure what we got going on is legal, Rob. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah. So we need a commissioner. We need to say, hey, the Pac-12 needs to remain the Pac-12 except for football. Someone needs to say that. Okay. And let's divvy up. And John said this, Hartwell said this. Let's take 64 Power 5, 64 Group of 5, have 4 conferences, have 2 playoff systems. There's money to be made off this that we can give back to these student athletes. Yeah. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I'm not Chip Kelly. I'm not Lane Kiffin, but I've been saying the whole time, once they get a year of travel across the country for all these non-revenue sports and they start putting pen to paper, they're going to go, this is stupid. I think we're going to go back. I think the Pac-12, they may get the band back together in a year or 2. Don't be surprised. Okay. I agree. Anything's on the table. And I'll tell you this, if I'm a coach, I'm going to tell my players the God's honest truth. I'm going to say, listen, some of y'all have had great careers here. And I know we're going into this bowl game, and I know it's different now. The December signing period, that takes a chunk out of your hide. NIL, guys coming in your office as a coach, and you're playing, Monty Hall, let's make a deal. You got to deal with the portal. And then you got to prepare for the bowl. I get that. They make a lot of money, but mentally, it's brutal. But I'll tell you, if I'm the head coach before the bowl game, I get my team together and I say, men, listen up. Some of y'all have had great careers here. And you're going to be remembered for that great catch or that great tackle or that kick field goal to win the championship. But you're all going to want to come back to this campus and visit many times. Some of you may move back here. Some of you may come here and coach on the staff. You may be the head coach. But you need to learn something, and you need to remember this right now. And I'm telling you straight up, these fans sacrifice a lot to support you. You sacrifice a lot. Your family sacrifice a lot for you to get where you are. But you got to remember, they're always going to remember what you did at the end. It's not how you started. It's not in the middle. It's how you finished. And if you quit on your teammates and you walk off the field at halftime, shame on Malik Neighbors. I don't give a damn. I don't like that. And if you do that, people are going to remember. And God help you if you lose a game and you've walked off the field. That's unimaginable. And if the adults allow that because they want to be hip and be their kids' friends, they're crazy. Again, my kids like me. They love me. They don't like me. I don't think they do. I mean, but you got to be, if you don't instill toughness and mental toughness, you're not preparing them for life. You're discounting them and all this hip, well, you got to do it. It's the way it is. No, it's not. No, it's not. One of my mentors, people that I've loved the most in college football history, is Eddie Robinson at Grambling. I used to watch his show as a kid, and he would always say, you get knocked down, you get back up. You get knocked down, you get back up. You keep fighting, young man. He goes, but when you quit getting up, young man, you are done. That's why the Eddie Robinson Award is such a big deal. And I know his son listens to the show every day, his grandson over in Atlanta, Eddie Robinson III. Love hearing him, and I'm going to get him back on the show. But damn it, you're supposed to be teaching values. Let's take a quick break. We got General Ben Troupe in the bullpen about ready to come out here. He's throwing 98-mile-an-hour fastballs right down the middle. So I suggest you get ready and get your helmet on because Ben's going to join Matt Dean and me for hour number 2, and it is about to be crazy fun. Right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne. We got Ben Troupe in here right now. And this is something we're supposed to learn lessons of life at home from our parents, our grandparents, our family. But if you quit when you're young because something's tough, you'll quit everything tough the rest of your life. I've seen quitters. They sleep in. They hit the snooze button. The people that you have played with, Ben and Matt, that you've played with and coached, the exceptional people in life, they do the little things when nobody's watching. Instead of getting up at 6, they get up at 5. They're willing to do whatever it takes to win. I'm just saying that this not playing in bowl games, if you're always scared, if you're scared of getting hurt, you probably will. I mean, you become what your thoughts are. If you put yourself down all the time, Ben, and say you're no good, would you want a guy in the huddle with you if you're the quarterback who you say, look, I'm going to throw the pass to you and you're going to catch it and we're going to win the national championship? I don't know. I don't think I'm your guy. Big Ben, how are you? We missed you Saturday. Don't ever worry. Ben was supposed to be on the round table Saturday. He goes, man, brother Rob. He was running a half marathon, though. I will say that with a 5-pound dumbbell in each hand because he's a badass. Ben, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm gonna have to get it. As my granddaddy would say, man, he said, listen, when you're young, you want do-overs. When you get older, you just want to do better. So I just want to do better. Let me get a do better. Come, this coming Saturday, I win at one of these Saturdays. But even with the topic of players opting out, let me tell you about the player opt-outs, right?
Yeah.
Talking about the exception. Most of these players are not doing it. See, it's like
they're not.
I still agree, though. I still agree. But this is the thing. The one thing these players are really, really utilizing is what most people don't have in life, and that's leverage. They know they got it, and they're going to use it. You know who else uses it? Coaches. Coaches do. There's a coach. He will go unnamed. I'm not going to, because I'm not about, he went through the whole recruiting process, got all these players in, and then he left. I don't have a problem with the coach leaving. I have the problem with the timing. You knew you were going to leave.
Yeah.
But I'm going to show loyalty to this school that hired me, preferably this coach, and then he leaves. Now, listen, him and his family, I wish him the best. He went from a defensive coach to a defensive coordinator. So I'm not mad at what he did. I'm mad at the manner in which he did it. When it comes to these players, right? For every player when we talk about the players that's opting out, what happened in Florida State is an anomaly because those guys went undefeated. And they was like, hey, because y'all don't got, a Jordan Travis, because y'all it was an ugly ACC championship, we're going to put you in. Now, when those people that were saying, oh, man, but Texas and Alabama, they got in. Football guys say, yeah, they got in, but they ain't going. They got in. But Michigan and Washington handle their business. I think when I talk about these opt-outs, it's still few and far between. Like
they are.
Because, but it's still very, very rare because the greatest thing, you know what type of culture you got. It will depend on how high the player is going. Most of these players, now Florida State, that's just something to where it sucked all the life out of them. You sitting there watching the college football playoff, and they said, y'all number 5, y'all playing Georgia. Well, number 1, we got to play Georgia. And I'm going to just say this. It would have been a different game had all the starters played at Florida State. It wouldn't have been much. It ain't going to be what we saw, but it ain't going to be much different either. Even if Florida – but that's neither here nor there because – there's a kid by the name Caleb DeLoach. He wears number 4 for Florida State. I know his daddy, Robert DeLoach. I know his younger brother, Jalen DeLoach. I never met his sister. His sister runs track. She went to Ohio State. The son, the Kalen, he went to Florida State. He got high. So people talk about these players ain't built for it. This young man got recruited by Willie Taggart. That's who got it to Florida State. You saw what he saw. And he stayed, when Mike Norvell got there. He went 3 straight losing seasons and to finish out his career undefeated. It is more Caleb DeLoaches in the world than people know about. And I think that, and so me as a just lover of college football, Robert DeLoach, his daddy, that DNA, they got that Manning DNA. The daughter is the fastest one in the family. The son played, outside linebacker who was up for ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and he got another son, Jalen, that's at Georgia, that's like 6'9", 6'10". So I just want to say to all the opt-outs, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But just know something you said does hold weight, though, Rob. You will be remembered because if I'm gonna say this, if you get hurt, Jake Butt played tight end at Michigan. Yep. He is the best example. I think he won the John Mackey. He got hurt, got drafted lower, still got insurance policy. Once again, he has leverage. So when people say, you telling me if Brock Bowers would have played, he would have got hurt, he got leverage. Oh, there's a young man by the name of Michael Crabtree. I know a lot of y'all young listeners don't know who Michael. He's one of the greatest receivers. Just look at his 2 seasons at Texas Tech. Crazy. Him and Graham Harrell, crazy. He got hurt. He went to the combine with a boot on. He still got drafted top 10. San Francisco. So all I'm saying is the tape is already cemented. People say that one game, that is fictional. If one game in my whole career defines me, I'm not that good of a player no way, or you a bad evaluator. If I played all these games and you say, hey, man, you going to risk getting hurt in a bowl game with your brothers? Hell yeah. For them, yes, because they know they ain't going. These guys came to college for the same reason I did. They want to go pro. How you know they want to go pro? Because they went through all the workouts, all the lifting, all the cussing, all the yelling, all the evaluations, all the expectations, all the standards, and they ain't make it.
Yeah.
I didn't make it. So the least I could do, I had the flu or pneumonia. I don't know what the hell you call it my senior year in the bowl game. I don't know what you call it. I just know in my family, thank God, knock on wood, we never get sick. Like my mom and daddy got like that tiger blood, whatever the hell you want to call it. We never get sick in my family. Like never. I got so sick that we was in Ybor City. We out there working, we out there having fun. I am laying down on a couch while we out, both teams. But this is when I knew Ron Zook loved me as a person, not just a player. The news people, they followed us everywhere. They up there, whatever the news people in the tell, but they do not like Ron Zook for this reason. They got the camera on me when I'm laying down, coughing up whatever was in my system. They got ready to ask me a question. I got ready to open up my mouth. Ron Zook stuck his hand in front of my mouth and said, get away from him. If you ask him another question, this will be your last time being a journalist. I was sick as a dog. But guess what?
Yeah.
My brothers, man, they had to talk about me the whole time. We went to a big luncheon. They got me up on one of the big, gigantic pictures. I'm saying, what am I saying to the players that opt out? Don't do it for you, man. Do it for them. Because they just played their last down of football. Unless they go to the UFL, we just merged XFL, US. They just played their last down of football. And guess who? If I went to Georgia during those glory years, they're going to ask me about who? Brock Bowers. They're going to ask me about N'Kobe Dean and these great players. I don't want to hear, why didn't Brock Bowers play in the bowl game? Man, why didn't so-and-so play? And to me, that's the part, because what players won't say is, when you a star, they only ask you about you. If you played with the star, they want to ask you about the star. They're just going to ask you about that. So I would say one more game. Number one, the fact that I know I did it, think about this. I made it. Like, I don't know where I'm going to get drafted. I'm going to get to go to the combine. I'm getting endorsements, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go out there with y'all boys. To me, that's the part. That's the part to where being a country boy, people say, man, what did you love more? I love to compete. I want to win. Listen, Vanderbilt wants to win. They want to win, okay? It don't happen that way, but they want to win. But I want to compete. So if somebody goes, hey, so I'm willing to get knocked out for them boys, because at a certain point, your teammates know if you're a real teammate. They know if you either own the team to play or you own the team to play for them. Players, right? So for me, that's what it was. It wasn't about that. And like I said, I'm in the bowl game. This is how oblivious I am. Ron Zook say, boy, you're going to be the first ever first-team All-American don't play in the bowl game. Now, I'm sick. I go, wait a minute, who all? Me? Yeah. So that kind of, someone I try to, they say in the heat, you're going to, plus I had to forgive Ron Zook, because we could have went to the Peach Bowl my senior year. Ron Zook said, they said Peach Bowl or Outback Bowl. He going to say, let's go to Tampa. So Ron Zook, I owe you a butt whooping when I see you, because that's nonsensical. We could have went to Atlanta. Don't nobody want to go. If you're in the state of Florida, you don't want to go to places in Florida. Let's go to Tampa. No one says that. But anyway.
Well, but Ben,
try away, try.
You're speaking, I mean, Matt, this is what we need to be hearing. And again, it is not the majority of the players opting out, but you're gonna want to come back to that campus. You're gonna want to network for jobs and opportunities. And people, I'm telling you, the stars, you love them and they're great. But I have so much respect for the guys that go through 4 or 5, or in this case nowadays 6 years of just getting the hell beat out of them. There are a lot of them are blocking dummies with a pulse, but they never complain. They always show up, and they'll do anything for the team. You can't opt out as a parent. You can't be selfish and say, well, I make $1 million a year. My kids don't. And then they're out there starving. Matt Dean, jump into this conversation. This is solid gold, as I like to say. The truth.
All I can say is the world needs more Ben Troupe, because he speaks the truth. And from a player's perspective, you can't get any better what Ben just said. Another thing that Ben said that I 100% agree with, like, if Florida State would have had their whole arsenal. Georgia's still, right now, they're not playing for the national championship. Georgia, in my mind, Ben, is still the best team in the country. They had one bad afternoon. They hit the upright on a field goal. They fumbled a muff punt inside their 10-yard line. Otherwise, they go 3 in a row. I'm just telling you, physically, they are that good. And Florida State had the unfortunate that everyone thought, oh, this is great. We're going to put Georgia and Florida State together. We're going to find out if the committee was wrong. No, we're going to find out that the one thing they were wrong about was not Florida State, it was Georgia. Georgia's the best team in the country. Did Alabama deserve to be in top 4 after beating Georgia? Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. I
made an argument that when this whole thing came down, Ben, I could have seen us going with 2 SEC teams and say, you know what, Texas, we're going to, right now we think Alabama's better, even though you beat them in week 2. We're going to put Georgia in. I mean, I could have made that argument, and it would have stuck. I mean, if you'd had Georgia 4 and Michigan 1, Harbaugh didn't want a rematch. He didn't want a rematch. I promise you that. Hey, even you go into the video when Michigan players heard they were playing Alabama, that room was silent. That room was silent. And, Ben, I woke up on Tuesday morning, all I hear is about how Saban got out-coached. Ben, you look at the second half. Until there's 4 minutes to go in the game, Alabama dominated the second half. And on that 4th and 2, Ben, I have a question for you as a former player. Corum gets out in the flat. That's got to be a blown assignment on a linebacker, right? You got to know. It's kind of like a spy of Lamar Jackson. You got to know at a 4th and 2, either a tight end rub or something on a crossing route because Alabama played a lot of man. Gosh, if they stop that one play, Ben, they win the game 20-13. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, you're right. The thing about football is that's different than any other sport. One play is the difference.
Yes.
Like somebody will go, you mean to tell me, man, you watch film? I watch film to watch one play, to watch one player, to watch one, and the thing is, that's unfortunately, people, when you play a sport, you're not going to be known for the totality of your career. Oh, no. They're going to remember that one play. They're going to say, man, what were you looking at? You know what you're going to say? The hardest thing is to go to that film room and to look at that tape, and the coach go, there he is. And he's gonna say 2 things. There he is, and that's what we talked about all week. There is nothing in football outside of maybe a kick 6, which you cannot plan for, that coaches don't know. Like, people go, what makes a coach a coach? A coach is there to, 1, make you do something you don't want to do because you don't want to do it, and 2, pull something out of you that only they can. That's what coaches do. Because the first thing a coach does, if he looks at a mom and dad and goes, your son or daughter has ability. Oh, I wouldn't be here. They have ability. Now, certain players, every player is talented. Some players are gifted. Some of them got gifts. They got stuff you can't coach. But when you're playing football, the reason why you take a timeout is to breathe. To say, I get it. Calm down. Do the normal things. Who do you have in this coverage? Before, I don't care. Who do you got? I got him. Who are you looking at? See, when you try to start doing things you don't do, you get in trouble. And it gets exposed on tape. And now Alabama, that player, whole life for the rest of it, this is how it goes, for the rest of life is going to be 4th and 2. Yeah, but no. Because that's a basketball player's 3-2-1 buzzer beater. That's what it's like. The San Francisco 49ers, when they had Colin Kaepernick, did not win the Super Bowl because they took away what Colin Kaepernick does. If y'all watched the play before they blew the whistle, Colin Kaepernick is going to walk in the end zone. They could have ran the ball 4 straight times and they would have won. They would have beat. That wouldn't have been Joe Flacco. But what happens is they get down there, they 4 straight plays, they try to throw it.
Yeah.
When is Colin Kaepernick, when he was good, he had, but what made Colin Kaepernick dangerous? His legs. Look at what he, so I think for a team, everybody knew that Alabama was going to come out second half. That's what they did all year. They don't look that good first half. Second half, man, they make them adjustments, But let me tell you what Michigan did that I could appreciate. Michigan heard Jalen, they heard Jalen Milroe say, they heard him say, oh, my old offensive coordinator told me I shouldn't play quarterback. They look and they said, wait, what? He said I should play another position. And and Harbaugh said that still bothers him. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's that doubt. You see that? It's something about a coach, your old coordinator, saying something about you. Now, most of the time, most people won't hear that interview because it ain't national. I'll say that to somebody, but it ain't national. Harbaugh said, all right, you want to play quarterback? We're going to make you do it. We're going to make you do what no one else can make you do. Now, the O-line not blocking it, that don't help the situation. But this is the thing. If you Milroe, you're thinking to yourself, you just said you don't like the fact that he told you to move to another position. So you get to show the world what you can do. You know who else used to say that? Every time Lamar Jackson balls out, he'll say not bad for a running back. His motivation is what somebody. He won. Oh, for those you don't know, he won the MVP last week.
That's right. That's right. A little different.
We already did, but I'm telling people this: every single player has one thing in common. I don't care who they are. Doubt. If I can find where your doubt is, boy, that's what I'm hammering at. Everybody got it. Everybody has doubt, especially players. Because people say they need confidence, no bump confidence. If I can find that doubt, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come at you. So what happens is with Alabama, no, it's not because of the quarterback. No, it's not because of one play. But when Nick Saban goes back and look, Nick Saban's sitting there in his office looking at that play over and over. He said, I told him. My very first touchdown in the National Football League, the offensive coordinator told me, Ben, that it's going to be fourth down. They're going to do that 85 bear defense. They're going to put the outside linebacker right on top of you, and you got to beat them. I said, all right. So all week, the only play that's on my mind is if we go for it on fourth. That's it. Forget the rest of the game plan because it ain't too many times they call a play strictly for you. You're the only one in the press. They did it.
Yeah.
I said, all right, come on. He walked up to me, and listen, linebackers, do me a favor. Don't stand right in front of no quarter. Don't tight end when I hand on the line. You don't do that. But anyway, I got open so fast I didn't even run a real route. I'm just trying to get open, come wide open, catch a touchdown pass, and it's a penalty. It was holding. My very first touchdown against the Colts. Check this out. Yes, it was a penalty. I go to the sideline. Mike Heimerdinger, may God bless his soul, He looks at me and says, you did your job. See, that's the difference in the NFL. Even if it's a penalty, did you do your job, though? Yeah. You can't worry about if somebody else holding. That's football. Football is, hey, man, when we stop the play, when we stop the tape, are you where you're supposed to be? Coach going to say, I got 10 guys where they're supposed to be. The 11th guy ain't where he's supposed to be. Look where the ball went. I'm telling y'all, everybody wants to be. Tom Brady did it for 20-something years. He started in the national.
Yeah.
I ain't never. So there will never be nothing else like that. But for everybody who think I want to play football, people say the only way you can play football is can you deal with the blame? Coaches tell us that. Can you deal with the blame? Can you deal with dropping the ball, missing the tackle, missing the throw? And when the coach says I can deal with that, you can play because people say, well, why they ask that? Because everybody want the other part. Everybody win the touchdown. Everybody. So the whole thing about it is, the hardest interview I ever had to do was against Florida State my senior year. I thought I had caught the game with a touchdown pass. One of my best friends in the world, Gus Scott, gives up a play. I ain't never seen him give up but one time. And I'm holding back tears in the press conference, not because we lost the game, because they talking about Gus like I said, wait a minute, do y'all forget everything you've done? So I told the whole room, stop that. I said, let me tell y'all something. I remember this. I'm 21. I don't know nothing about interviewing. I'm pissed. I said, if I get one safety, I want Gus. If I don't get but one safety on the field, I want him. The guy that just gave, and this is how life is crazy. In 2004, the New England Patriots drafted Vince Wilfork in the first round. They drafted Ben Watson in the first round. They drafted the guy who caught the touchdown pass was P.K. Sam from Florida State. They drafted Gus Scott from Florida. In the third round, they drafted P.K. Sam, the guy who caught the bomb on him in the fourth, and they were roommates as rookies. That's football. The guy who you hate knocking on your door saying, hey, man. And when he opened up, I don't even want to know what that conversation was like because they look at – so my senior year, we lost to Tennessee. Tennessee had this fullback named Troy Fleming. He was blowing our linebackers up. So when I get drafted, I was at Tennessee when he got drafted. I get to the Millennium Maxwell House in Nashville, Tennessee. I walk in the room. I'm finna get ready to close the door, and this dude stuck his foot in the door, and it was almost a fight. And me and Troy, mind you, we in the same room. I'm like, hey, bro, I think number one, what no introduction. Hey, bro, I'm in the room already. He said, hey, bro, I think they gave you the wrong key. No, I think they gave you the wrong key. And it was, all I'm saying is, football has a way of humbling us because PK Sam said, I got more respect for Gus Scott now because I got to know him as a person. But make no mistake about it, Troupe, I threw it up in his face every day. I caught that ball every day. Let it go. But that's football. It happens, and ladies and gentlemen, Michael Penix Jr., if you haven't seen him play for UW, the young man can sling that thing. We're gonna see what happened with him in Michigan, but
yeah.
At the quarterback position.
He's out of Tampa. I mean, he's the Tampa kid who was committed to Tennessee and ended up at Miami, now at Washington. Franz Beard just typed this in. Put every player on a contract. If they opt out, quit, contract requires them to pay back every dollar they ever got, including the money that it cost the athletic association for scholarship, room and board, etc. Listen, Ben, the reason you're so passionate is because you never quit. And Matt, as a coach, if you've got doubters in the huddle, on the sidelines in football or in basketball or in the dugout, Alex Anthopoulos, the Braves, the engineer, the mechanical engineer behind that great organization, like John Sherholtz and Bobby Cox calls it the Braves way, doesn't allow clubhouse cancer cultures. They'll kill your program. Matt Dean, you heard what Ben just said, and nobody else can say it. Ben Truth is his new name. I'm calling him Ben Truth. I call Roman Harper the truth broker. And he goes, you always call me the truth broker, Rob. I said, well, you are. But you remember the guys that fight their asses off for your school. And that's why, let's say, if Ben were to say, I'm moving back to Florida and I want to get a job, there'd be people blowing his phone up to interview him. They wouldn't give him anything. He's earned it. But it's because he has credibility, Matt Dean. You talk about your former student athletes, the men and women that you've coached, how important it is and how much that means to you. And just, I can tell you, my little level of middle school coaching for 14 years, kids that I've coached now, one of them's my dad's new dentist. This kid, and you know what? Great kid. Clayton Myers, awesome kid. And, Kenny Myers is his dad. I mean, you talk about great parenting. Matt Dean, could you imagine? And he doesn't have kids, obviously. He's a LaSallian brother, but brother Joel S. McGraw, Fratre Scholarum at Christian Brothers. Is there a finer man? Brother Stephen O'Malley, brother Adrian S. Powers, brother Adrian. At 5:15 in the morning, I'd be getting up early to go out to Gate 11 and Gate 4 and train my dogs at Shelby Farms. Early in the morning, Brother Adrian would be out on Walnut Grove with a broom sweeping in front of Christian Brothers, sweeping the street. I'm going to tell you one thing. If you were late more than once, you got to clean up that whole parking lot. You know what integrity is? I got caught one time, said, Rob, you got to come back and you've got to clean the parking lot after school. Well, I waited a few minutes, picked up some trash in Brother Hermes' Spanish class, put it in my pocket, gave it to Brother Adrian, who was out there at the bell tower after school, and I handed it to him, and he goes, Browne, what are you trying to do? That trash is warm. It's 25 degrees outside. Clean up the whole parking lot for the rest of the month. Don't try to fool me, young man. God knows. I mean, that was a lesson I still remember, Matt Dean. That's what I love Christian Brothers for, stuff like that.
It's been very informative with Ben on today because, getting a player's perspective is always the best thing you can do when you want to know something about the game. And
Yancy Porter's on with us, Rebel Yell Hotline. Keep going.
One of the things that Ben has been a part of, we all talk about, let's watch tape. No one watches tape like football players and staff. I mean, I coach basketball for my whole career, Ben, and we watch tape, but you guys watch tape. So when we go down to one play, Ben, it's funny because I've seen Michigan. I watch a lot of Big Ten football. I've seen Michigan run that play several times in different games. Heck, Ben, I think they may have ran it earlier in the damn game. I'm not sure, but it's like it's amazing how everything comes down to one play. It's almost like your analogy, and you're right. We get consumed about the Florida State thing and what happened. but that's not the norm. We have a lot of great things going on in bowl season. We have a lot of great stories out there. So at the end of the day, you look at the national semifinals. I know we think the sport's broken. The sport's not broken. There's a lot of great things going on with pro football and with college football. And I don't care what you say. I'm still going to watch it, guys. It's the best thing going on. Best thing going on.
Me too. And we talk about the potholes in the road of life, but the game's going to figure it out. The free market will figure it out. The fans will take care of it. And I love it. Hey, look, Yancy Porter Rebel Yell Hotline. Check them out Monday nights, 6 p.m. Central Sports 56, WHBQ and 98.5 and Super Talk Mississippi. They only have an hour. They need way more than that. But let's take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back with Yancy Porter, Ben Truth. That's his new name, Ben Truth, Matt Dean. Right after this, we'll solve all the world's problems in the next 29 minutes. We'll try at least.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am R.A. Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
All right, Rob Browne back here with this distinguished panel. Yancy Porter, you said it a couple of weeks ago. You laid down the law. Ole Miss, the Rebels are smelling blood. You can feel, you can see it. It's tangible, the momentum heading into the 24 season with Ole Miss getting that historic 11th win in the Peach Bowl. My son texted me Saturday morning. He said, Dad, I need one more game to win this parlay, and it's Ole Miss Penn State. Who's your pick? I said, well, Ole Miss wants to be there. They're going for a historical 11th win. Penn State, I just hear a lot of excuses. And boy, did we hear them after the ass beating. But take Ole Miss. They want to be there. What a great moment for Ole Miss. What they're doing in the portal is nothing short of amazing. Walter Nolan, one of the latest studs to join the Rebels, but kind of give us a progress report and how big that game was to get the win at the Peach Bowl over in Atlanta and your takeaways.
Well, it was all about momentum for next season. I mean, this is what it's all about. They're trying to make a run at the national championship next year, as you said. They smell blood. They feel like they got the roster now to take a serious run at the championship next season. And why shouldn't they? You're bringing back Jackson Dart and Quinshon Judkins and 4 out of your 5 offensive linemen starters. 3 out of your 4 top wide receivers, your top 2 tight ends. 6 out of your 7 top defensive linemen. You added 3 all-SEC defensive linemen to the thing. 3 out of 4 of your linebackers. They've got a lot coming back. Players that they're calling it the last dance. That's kind of the saying for next season. So it was strictly to keep that momentum up for next season.
Yeah, Matt, I know you got to go. You had something to say before we keep rolling, but great take, Yancy.
I just wanted to say, Yancy, I watched that game. Someone that's watched Penn State, I know Big Ten football, and I thought it was one of the most dominant performances of all the bowl season. And going back to what Ben had talked about, a great example of the good in college football. I mean, Ole Miss just dominated that game. And I really have appreciation the more I watch Jackson Dart play. I think they have a legitimate top 5 team heading into 2024. And I think they're going to be one of the final 12 next year. I think they're going to be in the dance, and they'll have a legitimate shot to beat anyone. And Ben, it's always a pleasure to see you, my man. Look forward to the next time. And I'm out of here. Thanks, guys.
All right, you bet. Take care. Matt Dean, one of the best. Love having you on here. Ben, you heard what Yancy talked about with Ole Miss. and momentum and all like that. This is, and we'll kind of go back and forth on some quick stuff because I got a lot we want to cover. But man, Lane Kiffin, him staying last year, whatever he was looking at with Auburn or whatever, no one ever knows. But I just got this sense when he stayed, because I talked to Yancy a lot, that's where he really wants to be. And all these people are saying, oh, he wants to be the next coach at Bama or whatever. I think he absolutely loves Ole Miss, and he's got a chance to do something that nobody since the legendary Johnny Vaught has done, and that's win national championship for the Rebels. Your takeaways from what they did to Penn State?
Man, I well, number one, I mean, I agree with Yancy. When you talk about the fact that everybody kept saying who's going to be the next sleeping giant in the SEC, and everybody thought it was going to be LSU, right? Everybody thought it was going to be, but the thing about, to me, what what coach is doing, what Coach Lane Kiffin is doing at Ole Miss, the same thing is going on in Mizzou. See, when nobody's really looking at you for real, because they think it's going to be Alabama, it's going to be everybody but Ole Miss. The hardest thing to do in college football is to get 9 wins. Then you get 10. Then you talk about 11. And who did you do it against? Listen, since John Franklin has left Vanderbilt, he's got a lot of money at Penn State, but life has not been good for him. He can't beat Ohio State. He can't play, he's had some big time talent. What I like the most about Ole Miss is Ole Miss got an offense that nobody wants to deal with. Nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, Yancy will talk about the tight ends. That Caden kid, I'm 86. My God, I was like, man, I'm going to go back a little bit, even though and shout out to him. The last great Ole Miss tight end was Evan Ingram. Went over 100 catches with them Jaguars. Now, Caden, I'm not going to put that much pressure on you because Evan Ingram was uncoverable. Just ask Nick Saban. But when you look at what Dart does with that offense, they make you cover 53.5 yards wide, 100 yards long. You got to cover every grade of grass because he's going to find an open guy. But I'm happy for Ole Miss, especially with the fact that everybody wants to make it about, quote, the usual suspects, the Alabamas, the Georgias, and I get it. Ole Miss is coming. I think they've arrived. And the thing is, everybody kept saying, why would Lane Kiffin want to go to the SEC West? He says, because I don't want to leave no doubt. When I beat Alabama and I represent it ain't going to be no East and West, I guess, moving forward. But I love what Lane Kiffin is doing. I mean, as a guy who was blessed enough to get coached under Lane Kiffin when he had his, time at Oakland, I never ever saw him becoming what he becoming from, the son of the great Monty Kiffin of the Tampa 2 defense. But I'm happy for Ole Miss. I'm happy for Lane Kiffin. I'm happy with what they're doing. But when everybody else complain about the portal and culture and players, they don't got, man, please. They listen, them hottie toddies or whatever the hell they call them going crazy up there in Ole Miss right now. But shout out to him. Listen, I got a really, really good friend who's a Penn State fan, right? And he's always talking about SEC is overrated. I had to make sure his number was still working after Ole Miss won. I'm like, oh, you still got the same number? And he said, you didn't really. I said, ain't it crazy when you get beat, it's an excuse, and when you win, it's a reason? No, Ole Miss is that good. Like, Ole Miss is that good. So shout out to the Ole Miss boys getting it done.
They are, Yancy. I mean, that was big. I've got a boatload of Ole Miss friends I text with and talk with every day. And I think some of them that were on the fence after the win over Penn State, Yancy, again, these games are important, but the Ole Miss culture is buying into the brand. And I don't think anybody's having as much fun playing football right now as passionately as Michigan and Ole Miss. Maybe they meet next year for all the marbles.
Yeah, we'll see what Jim does. He hired one of the top NFL agents. But if he comes back, Michigan will be a contender again next year. As Georgia, I mean, look, let's make no bones about it. Georgia's the best team in the country this year, and it wasn't even close. They had a hiccup. I've been preaching about it for 6 weeks about the whole Florida State deal. It was Georgia who got screwed. They were the best team in the country, and next year they should be number one again coming into the year. They're bringing back their quarterback as well. They're replacing 5 stars with 5 stars. That they've got it going on. I think I really do. I think Georgia and Ole Miss both those two should be the favorites. With Michigan, they're going to lose their quarterback next year. And, it's the momentum for next year, as they're calling it now. The saying is the last dance. It's all about the alumni being all in. And with them being all in, what does that do? That means you can raise the funds to keep your star players and to get other star players. As we've seen, we talked about this before. They've gotten 5 all SEC players in the portal, and they've gotten 2 from other conferences, Power 5. That's all on defense. So they're loading up. Lane knows that he's got the offense. He knows that if he truly wants to win a championship, he's got to take that defense to the next level. As you know, he's infatuated with the defensive line. We've talked about this endlessly, Rob, and they're going to have the personnel now to make a run. I just still think it's a shame that Georgia didn't get a chance. You got a team that win 28, 29 games in a row, lose one game, and get knocked out of the playoffs. I just think it's absurd. But that's a story for another day.
Well, I'd still, again, you're right about Georgia. They go from 1 to 6, and Alabama goes from 8 to 4. So theoretically, Georgia should have been in there. Well, and what Florida State did, Florida State was all mad. And what did they do? And look, I don't have anything against Florida State. And Johnny Ballpark Franks knows that program really well. He's on the show about every week with us. But that's a brand damager. That was stupid. And 31 guys quit on that team, and they went out there mad and just down and feeling sorry for themselves. Georgia went out there to prove a point to the College Football Playoff Committee. Damn it, you should have taken us. We're the best team in the country. And look what happens. It's all about attitude, Yancy. And I look at Lane Kiffin. You're around him a lot. I don't know anybody that really knows him all that well, but he's more of an introvert than he is an extrovert. But he's really good at working social media and getting the brand out, top of the sip and all that stuff. It's kind of like what Rhett Lashley and the folks at SMU were doing with the 214, Dallas's team. But, you say Lane Kiffin is big on the portal, but you signed 4 of the top 5 players in Mississippi. And I think 3 or 4 of those guys were defensive linemen. Again, Lane Kiffin knows offense, but let's talk about Pete Golding. This guy was called everything but his own Christian surname when he was at Alabama, and now he's at Ole Miss. And he probably talks a little bit with Monty Kiffin before dark every day, and they talk a lot of strategy. It's what's not front page news that's the real story at Ole Miss, Yancy.
Yeah, Pete's his biggest hire since he's been at Ole Miss. That really changed the game. And now, look, Ole Miss was 39 points scored this year. Nothing elite, but it's not something that can destroy your program. But when Pete got there, they were 68 in points scored. So, he almost cut it in half. So, that's why they're really honing in, and they've got one star receiver in the portal, and everything else is defense. 11 out of their 12 portal guys that they've signed are on defense, and most of them in the front 7. So, Lane knows in order to take that next step, he's got to get that, down to 39. He needs to be in the top 15-ish, right, in points given up. So that's the next step. He's still got to shore up. He needs another offensive lineman or 2. Not necessarily for starters, but for depth, because we saw when they lost 2 or 3 of those offensive linemen going into Georgia week, it was a total different team. They just didn't have the depth on the O-line, and Georgia ate their lunch. And, they didn't play well against Monroe or Mississippi State as well with the offense when those offensive linemen were out. So that's the next area they've got to address. They feel like they got a good one there, Jermaine Scott out of Southern Mississippi, and they're looking at Percy Lewis over there at Mississippi State, kid down there at Florida. So there's some guys that they feel like they can address that issue, but that's really kind of the last piece of the puzzle is getting some more quality depth there on the offensive line.
Ben, You talked about the last great tight end. That was a hybrid Evan Ingram wide receiver tight end, that hell of a player, about 6'3", 228 pounds. And I look at this Jason Priestcorn, the tight end. Talk about your evaluation of him, but this guy's a badass, and he is a big body and can make people very uncomfortable when he's out there catching balls.
What I like the most about his game is they don't force him to be one thing. They get him out. They bring him this motion game, but he finds a way to show what the tight end position has become. I mean, they called you would think at a certain point they would realize, he's gonna throw it to 8-6. I mean, who are y'all looking for? But when you got an offense built with a quarterback like Darden, you get a guy, like 8-6, it's gonna be hard to stop him because we think everybody got to be built like Kyle Pitts, right? We think they got to be fast like Brock Boswell. No, you don't. You put somebody in the right offense, you can't do nothing with them. Most guys, they so gifted, you can't stop them. Well, 8-6 is like, look, man, I'm gonna do it on the big stage. We're doing it all year, and I got a QB that love me. I mean, when people say, hey, 13 catches in a game means they throwing the ball to me a lot. I might get 15 throws. Most people won't get 15 throws in 3 games. But he's making plays, play after play after play after play.
Yeah.
Now, the one he's running down the sideline, and he just sticks the ball out and score. I was like, hey, he got a little swag to his game. I'm a fan of the tight end position, and I'm a fan when the tight ends are not limited. You want a good tight end, don't limit them. Now, when I say don't limit them, don't put them at fullback. Don't do that. Don't put 6'5" people at fullback. Like, don't do that. Most linebackers are not 6'5". It's like this. Patrick Willis, who's a finalist for the Hall of Fame, he should get in if you understand football, people. If a person like me got to go up against a person like him, that's not winning football. I'm not going to try to hit Patrick Willis. I'm going to act like I didn't see him. I know he wears number 52. I'm like, what happened, Troupe? I want to play a lot longer than getting, ramshacked by a guy like freaking Patrick Willis. But what I like about 8-6 is he's definitely going to be a preseason All SEC candidate, John Mackey Award candidate, All American candidate. But what I liked about his game is it's all game. You hear his name in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. They put it. They throw it to him on any down. He's a first down machine. But he's a very fluid runner. Like one time, listen, the clumsiest tight end in football history might be the greatest, and that's Gronk. Gronk is the greatest, but you see how reckless he was. He wasn't a fluid runner. He ain't like you ain't gonna catch him running track, but he's dependable. The greatest thing about AC for Ole Miss is he's everywhere. I mean, just when you think you got him, because if you got a good safety, well, unless the safety switches sides, he was everywhere. I love the game. Like I said, my homeboy PJ, Penn State fan, it was anything but Happy Valley against some Ole Miss boys. Right? People don't really want to play Ole Miss. That they just said that. And this is the thing: if that Ole Miss defense just plays complementary defense, they're gonna be hard to do. You don't have to be a great defense when you got an offense like that. You just can't be, a Big 10 defense or a Big 12. You can't be that. And I'm not saying Ole Miss is that. They get some quality. It's like this. It's like the Washington defense. Washington defense says we don't stop people, but we gonna stop them enough for us to score more points. That's all you got to do. That's all you. And I think Ole Miss is building that, and they build it from the inside out. But 8-6, look, keep doing what you're doing, sir. I get to brag about people like you. Never met you, but Lane Kiffin, I ain't get a chance to really get out there with him when I was with the Raiders. But when people say, why do people love Lane Kiffin? Because if you can play on offense, he's gonna get you the rock. I don't care if it's time. That's the thing. That's the secret of Lane Kiffin is if you are a gifted player on offense, man, he'll make you look phenomenal. Because that offense he be running, it looks different every week, man. But at the same time, Penn State, they think we got Ole Miss, we gonna rock them. But and in the dome, perfect conditions. Them boys, listen, look like the greatest show in Atlanta in the freaking Peach Bowl. Hey, sorry, Penn State. Sorry, John Franklin. I know you thought I'm finna beat these SEC boys, not that team. And I what the hell happened to him? I'm just saying, big man, y'all didn't have a good show.
Well, hey, Yancy, talking about that, James Franklin's 3-18 against top 10 teams. Ole Miss was 11. Penn State was 10th. But Ole Miss just dominated, and Penn State cannot get over that hurdle Now let's flip it to Ole Miss. I think you've got Georgia, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Those are your three best teams right now. And going into next year, Jackson Dart, another year under his belt, and all these guys, that offense, and Ben's right. They have fun, and he doesn't have guys. You go, why does this guy never play? If you're good, he plays you, and he's great at developing players. That's his gift. Talk more about that.
Yeah, man, back to Prescorn, he was hurt the first half of the season. If he wasn't, he probably wouldn't be coming back again, right? He'd be going to the NFL. So he hurt his foot, I believe, the week before the season started. So he was out the first half of the season. And when you have someone like that, it draws those safeties to the tight end, right? That leaves those one-on-one matchups for people like Trey Harris, number 9 for Ole Miss, to get one-on-one coverage to eat. So it not even when he's getting the ball, it frees up those receivers. And then when you have a traditional tight end like that, a big boy, not an Evan Ingram you were talking about Ole Miss tight ends. They had Evan Ingram and Dawson Knox on the same team.
Oh my, cheating! That's cheating.
But they only use one of them. When you have a traditional tight end like that, it does so much for the running game as well. And that's really Prescorn. He got highlighted with going out and making those one-handed snags, and what a phenomenal game. But he's the best blocking tight end I've seen at Ole Miss in a long, long time. The kid can block, and Ole Miss leans on that running game. So it brings so much more to the table. But as far as next year, yeah, it's going to be those three. And look, teams always step up. You don't expect to, right? So we think it's going to be Ole Miss, Bama, and Georgia. But don't be surprised. Look, Missouri, I believe they're bringing their quarterback too. Back, but what really helps Ole Miss out next year too is they don't have to play at Alabama and at Georgia. They do got to play Georgia, and that's going to be a boatload. But at least they play them in the vault this year, and more importantly, they don't have to play at Alabama again. And so the schedule's a lot more favorable this year. They got the pieces. It's just everything's going to come down as how they're going to be able to handle being the hunted, right? Just as Ben said, it's different when you kind of go in the background like Ole Miss and Missouri did when you're just sneaking up on people. Then when you are, all season, everybody's telling you how great you are, and then you have those expectations when you come into the season. So that's really going to be the biggest obstacle for Ole Miss. It's not going to be a personnel issue this year. It's going to be how they can handle being the hunted.
Yeah, and you got to be able to do that. Hey, want to say something real quick. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square, Collierville, Tennessee, open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. Get out there today after Christmas. They got a lot of stuff on the 50% rack, but they've got Filson. Man, they're huge duck heads. Over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. Everything that you see on Yellowstone, they've got it. They're the wardrobe consultants. Schaefer Outdoors, they've got all their clothes there. They've also got Dolce Vita boots for the ladies, kids boots, and as well. But they've got luggage from STS. It is a great store, hewlettanddunn.com in Collierville. And Tom Martin's Body Shop. Look, you live in Memphis, probably going to have a window replaced for a number of reasons. Tom Martin's Body Shop, G.E. Patterson and B.B. King open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Some of the best people you'll find anywhere, and they make the paperwork part of it easy. Yancy, real quick, about out of time, and Ben Troupe, great stuff having you on. And these discussions are deep. We cover a lot of grounds. And we didn't even get into basketball. We'll be getting into that a lot more next week after the College Football National Championship is over, because Chris Beard and the Rebels, they're going to be tough. SEC play starts this weekend. Kind of give us kind of a Cliff Note version of what's going on at the Pavilion, because that's going to be a hot place. It's going to be a hot ticket this basketball season.
Yeah, I mean, the momentum is just carried over to even basketball. Beard's just one of the top 2 or 3 coaches in college basketball, and he's what a phenomenal job he's done. Unfortunately, they got to play at Tennessee to open SEC play, but I guess you're going to see exactly where you stand. Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky, those three teams. Alabama's starting to gel. The SEC strong. I mean, I think Joe's latest bracket had 9 SEC teams in. It's going to be a heck of a year to watch. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Catch him on Monday nights, folks. Sports 56, WHBQ in Memphis, 6 p.m. Central, and Super Talk Mississippi. Yancy Porter and the great team they have there, Rebel Yell Hotline. And Ben, what's your new podcast?
Oh, listen, the new podcast coming up is going to be called Only One Dash. I mean, get a chance to sit down with people like Yancy, like Rob, to be able to not, talk sports so much. I think so much when you do sports media, it's people say, well, who is Rob? Who is Yancy? And we'll get it. And Only One Dash just really means only one life. I mean, when you look at a tombstone, you got two days when you were born and when you die. You got that dash in the middle. So I want to talk about life, man. I want to show people how we are all connected. Why? Because we're all weird. I'm gonna bring out the weirdness. You say something to me like, "Yeah, man, I like peanut butter." What the hell? You like crunchy peanut butter? And I'm gonna say things like, it's cereal soup. Because if you think about it, it is soup. It just ain't hot. I'm just saying. So Only One Dash is gonna be a chance for me. I had a chance to sit down with an old war veteran, and he asked me something that stuck with me. He said, "Do you interview any and everybody?" Because I know you do sports. Do you interview? I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because we all got something to say. Y'all the only ones got platforms to say it." So I said, you know what? Only One Dash was born, and like I said, I'm coming to all these social media platforms and YouTubes and different things, but nobody's safe because on my podcast, I got a producer and he's already gotten used to my weirdness. Yancy, Rob, we gonna get to have some fun together, man. People I think I want to get to know y'all, away from Ole Miss and obviously, Memphis, Tennessee, and things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing before we go. One thing I want to say. We'll have the great debate. Is it a snout or a nose? Or is the nose at the end of the snout when you talk about dogs? Is it a snouse, a snose? That's a great topic of discussion, okay? Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We are all so blessed. You think you're having a rough day, double down. It's going to be a great day, okay? Junk in, junk out. Positive in, positive out. And again, we're blessed. Go bless others. Thank you so much, all of our listeners, our sponsors, viewers, everybody. We do this for you. It never feels like work. It gets more fun every day. We'll be back on tomorrow morning. Until then, have a great day. We are out of here.